Good morning, everybody, from sunny and warm South Florida, Boca Raton, Florida, to be exact. I am Lauren Cohen, the host of Investing Across Borders and an international legal and real estate investment expert. And I am very proud to say that our podcast is sponsored by Lendi, a company that Michael should know about, who's our guest today, which funds non-owner occupied real estate investments for foreign investors from Canada, the UK, Australia, and Israel at this point. And it's super cool because as Michael knows, working with so many Canadians as he does, it's always challenging for Canadians to get money from domestic investors in the US for their real estate investments. So this is a great option. So anyway, just to bring that to your attention, Michael. So I'm here today with my friend, Michael Ditton, and we've actually worked together. We've considered investments together. We are on many of the same groups. We work with many of the same people. And we originally met, I believe, through my good friend, Mike Wolf, who was here in Florida complaining with me about how cold it was last week on a Tuesday night. It was probably in the 60s and we were both freezing to death, these two Canadian wimps, as we called ourselves. So, and we were proud of it. So, in any event, Michael has graced us with his presence. He's a super cool, lifestyle-oriented real estate investor who's been investing since he was 20. And just continues to make a difference in the world. His specialty is multifamily, and I go to him when I have a multifamily deal to review. He is just a great guy. He is always very, very helpful. I've asked him questions about different opportunities and questions about different groups. And, we share ideas because at the end of the day, collaboration is the key. And we want to know who are the good people and who are the not so good people. And we want to stick around the good people. And Michael is one of those. Michael, why don't you do us a favor instead of me preaching your virtues? Why don't you tell us a little about yourself and Helios Capital, which I believe I was involved in helping set up, right?
For sure. Absolutely. Yep. Our Florida corporation for investments. Yeah. And very, very nice, warm welcome. Thank you very much. And of
course,
you're right. It's about relationships and partnerships and the more of those that you have, the more opportunities that are out there and available for not only you, but for your clients and for the people that we serve, buyers and sellers alike. So, it's been great over the past year or so getting to know you as well.
I feel like it's so much longer, but COVID has made odd friendships. I mean, even Carolyn, who we also are very connected through, Carolyn, now Gallardo, formerly Chardy, she and I met probably month 3 of this pandemic and became fast friends. I mean, just like BFFs, right? And I had never met her. And about 3 weeks ago, look at that, my Canadian accent just came out. My brother was here, he just left this morning, so my Canadian accent is a little stronger. So about 3 weeks ago, she was in town and we met, and it was like love at first sight. And that's what happens through this pandemic, because as you're building those relationships and you're building them on Zoom, which is a strange medium, or at least it sure was. And I'll tell you something really funny. At the beginning of this pandemic, I was running events, as you probably remember, getting people money from the SBA. And at the very beginning, I had a Zoom bomber, and it was really awful. I had a whole bunch of lawyers on this call, and these guys came in and were doing pornographic things on the screen and writing these disgusting messages. And my good friend, Nadine Heights, a fellow immigration attorney, also originally from Toronto, who's here in South Florida, she just sent me a thing. There's a class action going on about exactly this, because a lot of people's businesses were heavily impacted by this. And I just say that because fortunately, thank God, Zoom fixed all of that. But at the beginning, it was definitely, nobody anticipated, we thought it'd be a week, 2 weeks, not 2 years. And here we are with yet another strain going on. But fortunately, here in the US, and particularly where we're both located, we're able to travel. Michael was just in Florida, and he does a lot of investing in Texas. Tell us a little bit about your background, what got you into it, and what got you into the multifamily space, if you would.
I'd be happy to. As you said, I started at 20, but back then I didn't think about, lifetime investor or anything like that. I was just looking I knew it was a smart choice to make for a young family to have a place that they can actually call home. Fast forward a few years, life created a whole bunch of challenges for me during Operation Desert Storm. It was started as Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I did 7 months active duty, and when I returned home from there, I was mentally and financially bankrupt, divorced. I lost everything. I didn't have a job when I came back. Couldn't find a job. In fact, I filed for unemployment, and a service member coming off of active duty for 7 months, I was denied. Yeah, it was a great.
Awful. You've just given service to your country and you can't even get benefits.
Yep. So it was kind of the bottom of the barrel for me. Fortunately, at an early age, I knew how to set, dreams and goals and stuff like that. I didn't really know how to put the plan in motion because I was still pretty young. I was in my 20s, early 20s. And, but pulling those things off of the shelf and kind of remember them gave me that drive to continue on. And I pretty much say it saved my life. And through that process, I started to rebuild and develop, some new relationships, moved back out to California where I had some existing relationships. And shortly after getting there, I was in a position where I could buy property again because, through all that downturn, I lost, I'd lost a lot of stuff and bankruptcy and stuff. So when I went to a buddy of mine in real estate, I said, "Hey, Ron, I know you're peddling real estate now. I'm ready to buy a house. Can you hook me up?" And he goes, "Sure, Mike." He says, "But what do you want the house to do for you?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean? I just want to buy a house." And he goes, "Well, you're going to live in it for the rest of your life. You're going to live in it for a while and sell it. You're going to live in it a while and rent it out. You want to earn money while you're in it." And he just started rattling on all this stuff. And I go, whoa, wait a minute. I just want to buy a house. Right. Well, long story short, he educated me. And through that education, as a veteran and using my VA loan, I was able to buy a 4-unit complex. I lived in one, rented the other 3 out, and actually earned money while living in my residence.
And also we're leveraging your loan at the same time.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely.
Using other people's money.
Yep, 75% of the income off those other 3 units was actually applied to my income to help me qualify for that as well.
Nice.
So through that education and the new desire to get into real estate, I wanted to start to build a portfolio. And the owner of that property at that time was the local Century 21 broker who I had become friends with during this process. And he asked me, he knew I was in sales. He said, "Hey, Michael, you want to come to work for me?" He said, "You do really good." And I said, No, I'm cool. Thank you very much. But right after I moved in, I started thinking, man, if I had a real estate license, I could have a foot in the door and get all these deals before anybody else. So next thing I knew, I was a licensed real estate agent. I hung my hat at Century 21. This was back in 1997, where I still hold a real estate license in California today. And I started to grow my portfolio. So I bought another 4-unit complex, 5-unit complex. I bought a HUD repo, redid that one, bought a property down the street, did a California remodel on that, bought a couple of condos in the harbor.
Wow, you sound like the guy who told you all the different options to do with your house. And you're like, I did blah, 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 blah. And now it's you. It's no longer the guy that said that you were like, what?
Yeah, and building that, along that process of building the portfolio, I was also helping a lot of other people in their real estate needs, whether it was a single person, family, investor, what have you. And I did it, and I was successful at it because I educated them. I could have slam dunked them into a property, whether it was fit for them and just fill out a contract. But quite honestly, I was able to be creative in contracts and get people really what they wanted, both sellers and buyers. Didn't matter what side I was on. Everybody, it was a win-win situation. So I had a very successful career. I did a lot. I ended up getting to a point though where I was ready to live life a little bit, because by 2003, 2004, not only did I have a full-blown real estate career, but I owned 4 other companies as well. So I was working, and I decided life was too short. I wanted to go, live it a little bit. So in 2007, I sold everything, all my real estate, all my businesses, and I jumped on my sailboat and I disappeared for about 10 years and primarily sailed up and down the Pacific coast of Mexico and enjoyed life. While I was out there, I wrote my book, Dreams, Goals, and Adventure. And I wrote that to inspire people never to lose sight of their dreams. And in this process, in 2015, had another life-changing event, and had to kind of step back and regroup and ended up after 23 years of a great marriage, or 22 years of a great marriage. Last year wasn't so great, but my then wife decided that she needed to go find herself and chose to do it without me. Today, though, we're still friends because 22 of the 23 years were great experience. It's part of who I am today. And my current wife is very grateful for that as well, because that was, that whole period of my life was part of my growth and part of my experience, part of who I am. So my new wife, I met Crystal, who energy worker, healer. She is now a certified health and nutrition coach. The two of us, we're just all about helping and serving in that. And it creates its own level of success when you put others first and you provide and help for them. So she's doing it on one end, I'm doing it on the other. We actually created a company called Infinite Activation, which we we co-created it and do collectively. So she does her thing, I do my real estate, and then we have Infinite Activation. And we were doing that from Hawaii and loving life in Hawaii. And then my father got ill. We ended up moving back to mainland San Diego, and he's since passed. And now I'm in Southeast Texas. And the reason I'm here is because a little over a year ago, I got full blown back into real estate investments, and October of the year before. And it's about the time I met you and our buddy Mike and Carolyn and all these others. And
all the Canadians.
Yeah. And I was so blessed to have fallen in such a great group of people, because it's what I truly needed after coming off that 12-year journey to get back into it. And this year is it's been phenomenal. Yes, COVID has been around for that time, but also the opportunities, not just in real estate, but the opportunities for Crystal and I actually to serve other people whose life was a big question mark because of the events that COVID had dealt them. And we were able to create some programs to help people through these difficult times as well. So, here we are in Southeast Texas. My real estate partner and I, we acquired some property, a big complex here, and we're acquiring some other properties and serving people as coaches, helping others acquire properties, working with investors, both U.S. and Canadian.
Venturing and stuff, right?
Yep. And Helios Capital was developed and born through this whole process, because I do have a partner that I do a lot of stuff with, but I do a lot of stuff on my own. So, the world is just evolving around us. There's a lot of wild, crazy stuff that's going on out there, but it is also what we make of it. And I'm one of those positive guys, and I'm not going to let the negative things that are going out there influence my life. Even if it comes knocking at the door, I'm going to drown it with as much positive stuff as I possibly can. And I hope that that's infectious and spreads out throughout the community that I deal with. So that's kind of where I'm at in a nutshell.
So a few months ago, when you were kind of embarking on your first big deal and raising money from others, tell us about that. 118 units, was it?
This one's 98 units.
Okay, I had an 8. Sorry, I was a little off. I was close.
No. Yeah, you're close. Give or take a few.
Right, 20.
Once you get
no
up,
big deal.
once you get up to
right.
once you get up to 100, what's another couple? So Mike and I, my partner, we had tried to secure a couple other deals, and things just didn't work out. But the opportunity came about with this one, and this is kind of one of the things that we coach is persistence, keep in touch with people, networking, what have you. Somebody, a broker that we had been working with probably October, November of the year before, I'd stayed in touch with, and an opportunity came up for an off-market deal that was going on the market, but there was a lag time, and he brought it to our attention, and it was definitely worth pouncing on. So Mike and I wrote an offer on it immediately. And so now we've secured this property, but we had to raise the funds, like you said. Mike's got he's got his investor pool. I got my investor pool, and then we have groups that we go out and we work within to raise additional capital. We had to raise 1.74 million for this particular investment, and we were able to do so in 10 days just because of the relationships and partnerships that we have developed over. Mike's been doing it, for several years as well. So, we were able to get into that. That was a nice, healthy cap raise as well for a renovation of part of this project. 8 of the units have been vacant for over a decade. In fact, the old owners, when they bought it, the 8 units were vacant. And we knew that by just upgrading or redoing these complete units, we're going to add another $70,000, $75,000 annual income to it, which creates forced appreciation, which is, what everybody's looking at when you get into, commercial type properties like this. But beefing up the property value, probably a little over $1 million. So we got into it, and it was a great deal up front. We knew it had value add to it. We wrote the offer in March. We actually closed at the end of June. Within probably 30 to 60 days, we started the renovation process, and we're hoping to be complete with that phase of it by the end of this month. And we'll have a couple other phases to fully stabilize this property.
Wow. Well, this is exciting stuff. I mean, it's all really great stuff. Now, the beauty of it, or one of the beautiful things that Mike brings to the table, is the fact that he works with, my podcast is called Investing Across Borders. And I happen to be Canadian, and I happen to be the Canadian Whisperer, and I happen to work with lots of the Canadians that Mike works with and help them set up their structure and perhaps look at visas. And one of the beautiful synergies between us is that a lot of Michael's investors, not to be confused with Mike Wolf, same name, but anyway. So a lot of Michael's investors are Canadian, and almost weekly, if not bi-weekly, I get some email from him introducing me to another Canadian that wants to invest in one of the projects that he's building out or renovating or rehabbing, and they need help because they are in Canada and they don't have a structure yet. So that comes from connecting with the Mike Wolfs and the Carolyn Ricciardi / Gallardos of the world, and figuring out how to pull all those pieces together, and knowing that you can, Canadians are hungry. They have some capital, and they don't want to, or they can't invest in Canada for obvious reasons, one of which is the cost is so high, the second of which is cap rates are low. And so they come looking. Texas is a big place. Florida, another one. Now in Texas, I know I'm doing a deal in Texas right now for a client. And in Texas, it's one of the few states where you cannot, in a commercial transaction, a commercial realtor cannot represent a client from another, if they're from another state. So in other words, as a Florida commercial realtor, I can't represent my client investing into Texas commercial real estate. Whereas if they were investing into Arizona commercial real estate, I could, or Louisiana. So Texas is a little bit of an anomaly. It's a challenging state to work with in terms of all of the regs and stuff around being a realtor and having the license, and the lawyer being involved and all the structuring. But it's a great place to invest with great opportunity, a lot of upside and cash flow, unlike Ohio, which is it's cash flow, but there's not a lot of upside because your appreciation is low. So and Georgia is like Texas in terms of there's upside as well as cash flow. So sometimes you give up one in favor of the other, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing because now Mike is there and he's able to actually visit properties live and in person, check them out, do the due diligence that needs to be done, and handle and look at the numbers. And, with that experience in his background, it really brings a lot to the table. So why don't you just give me a little bit of a feeling for what prompted you was it just circumstance, or did you actually pursue Canadian investors?
I guess you could say, yeah, I did pursue them, but I pursued them only because I pursue anybody that's looking for those opportunities. And when I met Canadian investors that were looking for opportunities across the border where they knew that they could get decent returns on their investments and everything else, we started talking about it. And of course, when I first started doing it, I knew that there was going to be, I'll call them challenges, even they're really not, as long as you have the right team in place. But I knew, because I didn't know there would be some challenges, that I needed to get my team together, which is where you and I came in, because even though we're friends and partners, I consider you part of my team, because when I have a Canadian investor, I know that they need to have certain things in order before they can start investing on this side. Canada and entities are different than they are in the States.
That's right.
Accounting is different. We want to make sure that we protect them tax-wise and everything else. I'm not the expert in those things. You want to talk multifamily, I can talk multifamily, but I want to make sure that they're able to protect themselves, take advantage of the systems that are in place out there best that they can. And that's where professionals like yourself come in. So
thank you.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's true though, but so many Canadians So many don't do that. And then what, I don't know if you've seen it in your experience yet, but you will, unfortunately, because there are, like you were saying, is that you happen to fall in with the right people, but there are a lot of not so right people, or a lot of not so right groups, coaching professionals out there, large American driven coaching programs that appeal to Canadians. They offer great upside, they offer great cash flow, they offer great training, but they don't offer anything related to cross-border, and they really don't care, because
Right.
all they care about is, oh, you're investing in America, you're going to make money. Great, I made money. Now I made $10,000. I'm going to give it all to the Canada Revenue Agency. And that's where it comes in, because Michael, who has never lived in Canada, but just knows that there is it's unique. It's not like you're dealing with Americans. It's not one size fits all, as I say in my 10 issues to avoid. But it's important to really set up your structure properly and follow a path. You're not just doing it like, oh, I want to set up a limited liability company. Do you know that that's what you want to do? No. Can you do it? Yes, go online. It's $300, you're done. End. But that's not the way it works. And
Yep.
Even when Michael was setting up his limited liability company, he goes to a professional, because you need to know what is involved. It's not just like set up your LLC and you're done. So we have to be very cognizant of the differences that do come into play when you are going across borders, as it does become more complicated.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been doing this for a long time, since 1997. And I'll tell you, having the right people on your team will not only help you from making, huge mistakes, but it's just going to save you a ton. I can probably say I've saved hundreds of thousands of dollars by having a CPA that knows how to handle my real estate stuff.
100%.
Okay. Could I do my own taxes? Probably so. Will I ever do as well as he does? No, because that's his profession. If I have legal questions, I want to make sure that I'm talking to somebody that is in the legal arena.
Right.
If I want brain surgery, I'm going to go to a brain surgeon.
Exactly. You're not going to an ear, nose, and throat doctor.
No. So, that proper members on your team are key, no matter what level they're playing. It was just like, you said, I am here boots on the ground, but you know what? I don't have to be boots on the ground, because I have a team here. My property management company here has 25 staff. And if I need something, I can assure you they can handle it, or they have the connections, networks, and contracts with other people that can. So, that's part of our team here. So that's just, the value there is worth way more than its weight in gold.
Thank you. It's true. And every time somebody says, well, why should I pay this now? Because you don't want to pay it 3 times, 4 times, 6 times as much later. And paying that money to the IRS or any revenue agency, I don't want to do it. I'd rather put it in my pocket or in my kids' pockets, or give it to charity. Don't give it to the IRS if you don't need to. So, Michael, what's your number one tip to people that are starting out in investing in real estate?
I think the biggest thing I see, if somebody's just getting new into real estate, it can be overwhelming with the opportunities and different options that they have. So I think ultimately what you want to do is you want to pick a lane and stay in it. But I'm not saying pick it without, gaining a little bit of knowledge. Test the waters, talk to people, join groups, have some mentors, find out, which direction you want to go into, and make sure you're talking to, people that like and trust. And then, once you figure that out, then stick in that lane until you're comfortable and it feels real good. And then if you want to expand from there, because I do see a lot of people that are, grass is greener on the other side, and they haven't given one thing an opportunity in order to start building that foundation to grow on. So as a new investor, find a coach, mentor, or group that you're really comfortable with.
Always.
And then figure out what it is you truly want, and then really dive in a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have the same expertise and level of experience that person does, but you've tapped into that support So if that is the direction you're going, you have that support there. And that's another part of the team. And I have so many coaches and mentors. I got Mike, I got Carolyn, I got you, I wouldn't try to do any of this without my coaches, mentors, and team. So,
That's because you've done it. You probably hit a few walls and you know better and you've learned from mistakes, right? Everybody
Yep.
has made, including me, some mistakes, and then we figure it out and we try again. If at first you don't succeed, what do they say? Try again. And also, you're seasoned enough to know that you can't do it all alone and you do need that team.
Yeah.
And it's a very important element. Like without the team, you won't be able to grow and you'll never be able to scale. And I noticed in one of the questions your answer was open communication, which is a key to any successful relationship, including with your coach, with your team, with your investors, with anybody. Open communication is going to drive the best and most successful results every day. No matter what else you have, communication is always going to be a key. And I'm sure working with Crystal, as you know, on the mindset side, and you building out this mindset driven real estate investment portfolio and strategy makes a huge difference. And I love the fact that you build that foundation and then you grow from there. And so many clients want to run and they're like, oh, let me just invest in this. And unless it's turnkey, you don't want to do that. And even turnkey, that may not be the best option for you because you're still deploying capital. Right. So you have to be careful about how you do it and make sure that you have a strategy that you can implement and implement successfully and then scale. Yeah. Michael, how do people reach you?
My name is Michael Ditton, and you can use Michael Ditton at yahoo.com. Helios Capital Investments is my website. I'm easily, you can find either one of those on Facebook. Pretty readily available. If you like to read, I do have a book called Dreams, Goals, and Adventure. So Google any of that and you'll find me. But you can email me direct. And then I'll respond back, and then you'll have some additional means to communicate, phone numbers, or we can do Zooms or whatever. But yeah.
Thank you. And remind me again, I know, but what does Helios mean?
Helios is actually, it comes from more or less, it's kind of the god of light.
Yeah.
And when I thought of Helios, I actually had another corporation called Helios many, many moons ago because I developed a fiber optic marine lighting system. And Helios, the god of light, was the corporate or
makes sense.
main entities. Spectrum Lighting was the other entity. And I wanted to use that name again, Helios Capital Investments, because I truly like shedding light on the multifamily or real estate investment side. So it's kind of where it came from.
And bringing light to your investments is really important. Being transparent, opening doors, open communication. It's what this is all about. Michael, I thank you for your time today. It's always a pleasure to hang out and spend some time with you. I'm Lauren Cohen. I invite you to subscribe to this podcast and please give us 5 stars. We are on every major channel. And also please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Investing Across Borders, where you can find all of the podcasts with the audio and video, as well as all kinds of my webinars and learning about these Orlando projects that we're promoting. And I want to once again thank my sponsor, Lendi. If you are looking for cross-border foreign investor funding for your investments in U.S. real estate, non-owner occupied, up to 4 units, and you have an LLC or a corp, and we can set that up for you. You can qualify for funding through Lendi. It's a great option, reasonable, and it takes 5 minutes to apply. So thank you again, Michael. Please take care. Send my regards to your wife. I'm sorry for her loss, and we'll be in touch very soon. I'm actually going to send you a message now about something that you made me think about while we were on this call. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye for now.
Aloha.